Good morning, everyone. It's SarahTonen. I got a lot of stuff swimming around in my head today, so I'm going to see if I can do this video and have it all make sense to you. So we'll see if that works. Okay, so you know what? Let's just start out with this. This was used as a thumbnail on Rebel Without a Pause did a mirrored video of this. This is the original videos from Miss Havisham. She's walking through a plague cemetery. Just so interesting. I just randomly picked it because there's two things I wanted to talk about. One is the eye in the sky, and the other is the evil under the sun. And so many things are coming up for me right now. So first of all, biggest recommendation I can give to you right now, go check out Gina Colvin. I'm gonna put the link below. Gina Marie Colvin. She has a Twitter account, and on there is a little video of, it looks like another, she says it's another plane of existence coming through in a waterfall. The veils are falling away, and if you've ever watched the show Fringe, I think it's a good time, if you've already watched it, rewatch it, and if you haven't, it's a little bit violent. I'm really sensitive to that stuff, but give you a heads up on that. However, it's a really cool show, and it talks about two worlds kind of becoming one and how that works. Of course, they have their own spin on it, and everything's usually quite dark and dystopian when it comes to Hollywood, because that's what they want us to believe, because they know that we are able to create with our thoughts, and so they're always trying to keep us like on the lower vibration. Anyway, what's really interesting is there's been a lot of um, sort of halos around the sun right now. And it looks like a lens over the sun. And I'm going to talk about the Sim Suns as well today. Not the Simpsons, but the Sim Suns, because this is all going to filter into itself. It's going to be a bit of a twirly type of discussion, if you catch my drift. But anyway, what I found really interesting about this, it suddenly caught my attention because when I talk to people on the Yellow Rose for Texas comment section, and also the Lisa M. Harrison information, it seems that we're corded to the exit, and the exit is the eye, and everybody exits through the eye. You either go east or west, and if you have done untold damage to uh, the planet in the game, then you get left on the board. Nobody realizes it, and you get swept into the pit. So the only way out is through the eye. So why is the capstone missing? You know, why do they do that on the dollar bill? Why is it missing off the top of the pyramids? Why do they do this? They don't want you to know about the eye. I finally figured it out. It's not that that represents them. They just don't want you to know that you're all corded to the eye. And if you do damage and if you do badness, you lose your cord. The cord is cut. And so that's what all that's about. Anyway, I need to kind of get through this because it looks like I'm needed in the other room. So let's get started. There's nothing new under the sun. My view of all of this is that we're in a game, we're in a simulation game, which is why I talk about The Simpsons, and why The Simpsons is also a huge treasure trove of what do they call that again? Seeding. You know, like they put things in there and then they bring it up later. It's conscious seeding, consciousness seeding. I'm sure I'm missing the proper term I'm looking for here, but anyway, I find it very, very interesting. Not only is there nothing new under the sun, but evil is under the sun. So what do I mean by all this? Okay, so I got a lot of stuff going on here. I was flipping through Fox News, and I noticed here that it says Ben Stiller. Oh crap, that's not what I wanted to do. Sorry. Ben Stiller is suggesting that a Theodore Roosevelt statue be replaced by Robin Williams. Now, this is probably sort of done under the guise of, you know, making light of all of this historical erasing that's happening right now, which I'm on the fence about, because on the one hand, I don't like it, but on the other hand, if history is fake, then you know, we all of that stuff is fake, and we've been basically lied to for millennia. So these statues are probably actually meaningless. But why would he say that? Okay, so well, actually, Robin Williams played Theodore Roosevelt in a movie. And what's really interesting is there are these videos on YouTube where they show current actors that look exactly like people from history. So, you know, and there's been a lot of talk about this, like in the past. Many people, like I think it was, uh, oh, what's his name? Sir Francis Drake, Shakespeare, what's his name? Oh, I'm sorry of all the umming I'm doing today. Thinking of different authors. The guy who wrote Tom Sawyer, I'm sorry, I can't really use my brain right now because I'm just kind of firing off of all this stuff that I'm thinking of. Anyway, basically, um, the idea being that we really don't know who historical figures are and what they look like, and if nothing is new under the sun, what we're going through right now is a reset, and they're redoing it exactly as they did during the Russian Revolution or the Russian genocide, which is basically to take all of the civil servants out of the mix first. So they're taking the nurses and the doctors and the police. As you can see, they're doing this. First it was the what people are calling COVID, which I prefer to call Corona because they want you to say this in a different way. And we all know, like we've seen, there's proof that there are chips in Microsoft hardware that have COVID, COVID. He wants to basically align people with the hardware that he's already created in these computers. And of course, everyone makes fun of, well, if he can't stop viruses in Windows, then how is he going to stop it with us? The other interesting thing, I don't know if anybody watched, I'm totally on a roll here, if anybody watched Orange is the New Black, there was an episode where the main character gets pinned down by some people in the jail, and she gets put on her body, they put a swastika on her body, and then someone decides to help her deal with it by turning that swastika into an open window, into a window. So think about that when you're thinking about Bill Gates, because they seed everything, right? And so let's just move on from there. But so the other thing that's really interesting is all the kids are calling this illness the cov, which is really interesting because people have talked about covens, and it's the covens that are ruling the planet. When other people use the word cabal, other people who are sort of have a higher sense of information are calling it this. Okay, so let's go back. So most of our historical figures are probably actually actors of the time. And then let's look into, if nothing is new under the sun, and there's only so many characters that can be played, and there's only so many stories that can be played, this is why we're seeing repeating stories, like with, you know, the Russian Revolution or genocide, where basically, okay, I was going to continue that thought. So they basically took out all of the middle class and they killed them. So first they started with the civil servants, the educated people, and then they took out the rest of the ones with money, like business owners, and basically the sort of the front line to the rest of society. And then they actually rounded up the poorest of the poor, and drove them up into Siberia and literally left them with one tool per 100 people. I believe it was a saw or a knife. And that was that. And you know, thousands died in the first winter because they were completely unprepared, and they pretty much were dropped off there with the clothes on their back. So this is what they're trying to do now. It's not going to work. They're trying to do all kinds of things. And I'm just going to kind of go on this idea that there's nothing new under the sun. We are literally in the Simpsons, The Sims. Okay? So way back in 96, they talked to us about cloning a sheep called Dolly. The unfortunate thing is that right now we're understanding that they see us as a herd, that we're sheep or cattle. And everything is happening in Seattle, or is it Seattle, right? And who is in Seattle? Where? Well, there's a new district that they're calling, I don't even know what it's called anymore. I think it's called CHOP today. But what's very interesting is Lisa M. Harrison in her most recent video said, well, what I find very interesting, what she found very interesting, sorry, is that they're building cities within cities, like they did in Rome, like they did in London, like they did in DC. And the city within the city in London is called, there's a part of it that's called the Temple Bar. What's really interesting is there's a Temple Bar in Dublin, there's a Temple Bar in Detroit as well. They're all various things, but the names always remain the same. And it's very interesting to see where things get placed, and then what the name is for. So Temple Bar in Detroit is actually a hole in the wall. It's described, a small hole in the wall gay bar with a big disco heart. Very interesting. Temple Bar in London is literally, it's this thing, it's Temple Bar Gate, and it's this principal entrance into the city of London, which is a mile-long piece of land that is owned by something called the Crown. What's very interesting is the Queen herself is not allowed in that area of the city without an invitation. She's barred from being in the Crown. So how is the Queen not able to get into a piece of land owned by the Crown? What is a crown in another language or in Latin? Well, we all know it's corona, right? What else has happened? The last Lisamharrison video revealed some very interesting stuff about Meghan Markle and the Queen of Sheba. And I just want to direct you to the last 20, actually that entire video, I'm going to put the link below. It's incredible. You really need to see it. And it really is very interesting as well, with this whole thing going on about this new king that's happening in, you know, the Queen is apparently out. The whole thing, you know, watching Trump with her inspecting the guards, all of this is starting to make sense. All of it's starting to make sense. The real Harry who was murdered in London, did you hear about that? The Prince Harry, this guy who said that he was the original one, and he confronted even Charles in public. And I did a video about it. You have to look for it. It's in there, so you have to get into there. But it's really interesting, all this stuff. It's all exploding, and it's very interesting. And it's interesting to see who's supporting who, especially with this new king. Apparently he's being helped by Trump, but at the same time, I don't get a good vibe off of him at all. So I think this is all part of the purge, you know. And I think if there was an actual coup to the royal family, like hundreds of years ago, I think that the people who formed that coup and took over would be on it, and they would be watching those offspring and possibly just messing with them, so that even if they do get to a point where they can prove that they are actually heir to the throne, that they're no better off than the ones who are being kicked out, because they like to cover their butts. I will say this, evil doesn't seem to take a day off. That's one thing that I've noticed. Anyway, let's go back to this. Let's go back to Simone, because who is running this brand new city that they're trying to 1 minute, sweetie. No. This brand new area that they're trying to develop in Seattle, in Cattle. Well, it's being run by this guy called Solomon Simone. Simone, the movie, was in 2002, and it was stylized as Simone like this, and it was actually supposed to be about this woman who is the first robot person. And Simone actually stands for Sim1, simulation number one, the first simulated person. Interesting. What else do we have with that name? Well, we have Solomon. This is one of the most fascinating videos that I've seen in a super long time. It connects the 72 seals of King Solomon with the 72 most used emoji, and why they're popular. You really, really, really want to watch this video. I'm going to do my best to remember to put all of these things in the video description box below. But there's stuff going on here. I mean, this guy isn't picked by accident. Oh, I need to show you this thread too. Hang on a second. Okay, this is the only way I can do this. For some reason, this is how I get onto Twitter right now. So just give me a sec here. Nope. Not that way. This one. And oh, there's so much going on these sites right now. So much interesting stuff. There we go. All right. I have to find this thread because I am going to put this in here too. This is just fascinating. Hang on a second. This one. This you gotta just read this entire thread. This is about this guy that I'm talking about. This Solomon Simone, this Raz from Chaz and Mataz. And it's pretty incredible. So it looks like he has been given a lot of money in businesses, and he's running all kinds of stuff, including something a bit concerning through an Airbnb. So, you know, this guy is installed, make no mistake. He's picked, and what I find very interesting is that they pick these people And they give them these names, these important historical names. You know, they put in these actors and then they connect them to these historical people. This is why I'm talking about all this. So very interesting. I have a lot more uh, to say about this, but I am definitely needed in the other room. So I'm going to wrap this up right here and thank you guys ahead of time for your attention on this, and let me know what you think. Talk to you guys soon. Okay, bye for now.